And I don't care whether you support him or not. This guy is being persecuted, and they cannot wait to go after him. Photo of Tommy's forehead. He's got a gash down his forehead, so he's clearly had a smack.
That asylum seekers in the hotels are afraid and won't go out. Planting the seed now to be the people ready to replace Reform UK if Reform turn out to be a fraud. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. This episode's amazing guest, still amazing and still returning, is that Preston journalist. How you doing, Ash?
Really good, Nick. Thanks. How are you?
I am good. Let's jump into one of the main stories this last day too, which is Tommy Robinson and it looks like an alleged assault at a train station in London, where the video just shows a guy lying on the floor and Tommy Robinson a little bit irate and walking away. The first thing I want to say is, what happened 30 seconds, 60 seconds before that video started playing? That's what I want to see.
Yeah, so do I. And there's a guy called Don Keefe. I don't know if you know who he is. He works for Urban Scoop, which is Tommy Robinson's, one of his platforms, isn't it? And he said on a show that I watched that there's footage out there already that he's seen before and after, not from CCTV, but from bystanders who've videoed the whole thing. And it shows, allegedly, Tommy Robinson being threatened by this guy who was much bigger than Tommy Robinson. And Tommy warns him 2 or 3 times before he hits him. He said, if you keep threatening me, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to defend myself. And this guy keeps going for it. And I don't know if you've seen the photo or not. There's a photo of Tommy's forehead. He's got a gash down his forehead. So he's clearly had a smack. Yeah, he's had a smack himself, hasn't he? And then he lays him out, allegedly. So, if that's the case, why has somebody just leaked selective footage like that? Because they want to portray him as the knobhead, don't they? The right winger, the football hooligan, that's all he is. And then he had business commitments abroad. So he's gone abroad. He's not fled the country. That's rubbish. I know that for a fact. He was already going abroad because he's got other media work to do. And he's been putting videos out himself on his social media. So the media are loving this, of course. They can't wait to put something bad on him and say what a horrible person he is, etc. And I don't care whether you support him or not. This guy is being persecuted. And they cannot wait to go after him. Just look at the contrast between those idiots at the Manchester airport attack. The jury so far can't come to a verdict, despite CCTV showing them attacking police officers. Yet, within minutes of Tommy Robinson hitting somebody allegedly at a tube station or a train station, St Pancras station, wasn't it? All of a sudden, oh yeah, we're hunting for him, we're looking for him. All right, why? Why don't you find out what happened first before you go after him? Are they going out? Are they going to arrest the guy that got laid out as well? Because he was clearly the aggressor, it seems to me, and from other people that have seen the footage.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy Robinson is a complicated character, and he's not perfect. But my message is always listen to the message, not the messenger. The messenger is not always a decent person. He's not always the hero you think they are. Listen to the message. And he's been spot on for 15 years about the grooming gangs. He was talking about it, and other people, it wasn't just him, he's been talking about it when no one else wanted to talk about it. And he helps keep this in the public eye and keep the flame alive of this atrocity. And because of that, he's been persecuted, and he is a political prisoner to a certain extent. Hence why we've seen him do 18 months in jail in solitary confinement. I want to see, people don't understand the law. Self-defense, you can hit someone first and claim self-defense if you believe they were going to hit you. So if he was being threatened and he warned them several times, then that's self-defense. But again, we don't know this for sure. This is what we've heard people say. But I want to see more of the video. I can't see Tommy Robinson going around punching people for no reason, because he knows he'll end up back inside. He knows he'll end up in solitary confinement. He knows they're out to get him. He knows this. I can't see him doing it unless provoked. And it's beginning to sound like he was provoked. But on the flip side of it, I also believe he lives abroad. I actually believe he lives in Spain. So
he does spend quite a bit of time over there.
My understanding is that's where he lives. So if he does live there, then he hasn't fled the country when he's gone back home. And let's say he has fled the country. Would you blame him? He's just done 18 months in jail for contempt of court when nobody else would be sent to jail for that. He got sent to jail for that and put in solitary confinement. And from what I heard, the the isolation almost mentally broke him, and he came out a shell of himself because they use isolation to punish people. We've always used it to punish people because it has a really bad effect on your mental health, and you wonder why he left the country.
They would have arrested him had he stayed here. Absolutely no question about it. They wouldn't have arrested the guy that threatened him allegedly threatened him in the first place, just him. And he'd have, like you just said, he'd have ended up. He's still on bail, not bail, is it? What, probation, isn't he, for a bit? Because he got early release. Is it till August he's on probation or something? So yeah, they'd probably try and put him back inside again. I can't imagine what it's like to sit on your own for 9 months or whatever it was he served in the end. But it certainly can't be easy. It's actually against the law because of the damage it does to you. You're only allowed a set time in solitary confinement, and it's not that long. It's only a few weeks, I think.
My understanding is it's 2 weeks. Then you've got to get either a court order or the Home Secretary to sign off another 2 weeks. So what they did to him was technically legal. They had to go back every 2 weeks and get it signed off again.
Yeah, as if Yvette Cooper's going to take Tommy Robinson's side. Like you said, he's a flawed character, but he's been right on everything, and he's been vindicated in my eyes. I was one of these people who actually drank the Kool-Aid at first. I thought, oh, what a tosser. Like, without really knowing the first thing about him, just the crap that I'd heard on the media about him. I've completely changed my opinion on him. I'm not saying I campaign with him or anything like that, but because I went to one of these EDL marches, not to participate, but I went there just to see what it was like when I was a bit younger. And a bigger group of tossers I've never seen. As far as I could see, they were just idiots who wanted to drink beer, wearing tracksuits and march down the street shouting racist slogans. Probably the worst thing he ever did actually was set up the EDL with the best of intentions, I'm sure, but it just attracted the wrong people. The way he's going about it now with these freedom rallies, with these Unite the Kingdom rallies, which are, attract hundreds of thousands of people. This next one they've got coming up on September the 13th, there's MEPs coming from different countries. There's people like Jordan Peterson coming. There's big figures coming to talk at these things now, and that's what they're afraid of. This guy has got, don't underestimate his following. He can attract a serious following. And I also think that's why Reform have made a mistake. You don't have to endorse the guy, but you don't have to attack him either. If he asks his supporters to vote Reform UK, people loyally follow him, and they probably would vote Reform UK. And that's potentially a few million votes that Reform UK need. So I think it's a mistake for them to constantly attack him. And I know it's the media that keep bringing Tommy Robinson up all the time. If you're Farage or anybody else, don't do the Richard Tice thing going with nothing to do with that lot, because that just makes you sound like an idiot, a stuck up your own ass idiot. Why don't you just say, he does his thing, we do ours, never the twins shall meet? Simple. Keep it polite, keep it civil.
That's exactly what Reform should have done. They shouldn't have engaged in the conversation and just says, Tommy Robinson's not part of us, and just change the subject and carried on. That's what they should have done instead of. But part of Reform want to be the establishment, so they say those things sometimes because they want to be part of the establishment and be seen as part of the establishment. Now, you mentioned the protests Tommy Robinson has been organising. Let's talk about some protests Tommy Robinson hasn't been organising, and that's been outside the migrant hotels across the country this last 1 or 2 weekends. That's sort of come out of nowhere. It's caught on. It's taken the police. It's put the police on the back foot. It's took politicians on the back foot. And I'm hoping this movement grows and grows and grows every weekend. We even had the BBC put a report out that asylum seekers in the hotels are afraid and won't go out. And it's like, good, I'm glad.
They shouldn't be allowed out. Why are they allowed out? We don't know who they are. They shouldn't be allowed out. We've got migrant centres. They should be processing these people. We know, by the way, from the Home Office and Border Force that checks aren't even done on these people before they're put in these hotels. There's no attempt. All right, fair enough, they throw the documents away and stuff, but there's no attempt to establish if these people are from whatever country, what's their identity. It'd be quite simple, wouldn't it? You say, tell us your identity, or you're not coming in the country. Simple. Tell us what country you're from. If they refuse to tell you, take a swab. take a DNA sample and find out what country they're from and send them back there. It's I've just seen a news clip now saying that even Border Force now, or Border Force as they should be called, and the RNLI and all the rest of the taxi services that bring people over here have just thrown their hands up and said we can't cope. It's ridiculous. And there's on Wednesday alone 500 trying to cross at the same time, and they just said we haven't got the capacity for this. Never before have they thrown their hands up in the air like that. Why? Because the numbers are increasing all the time, despite what the government tries to tell us. And you're right, these protests are going to grow. And I'm pleased to see that people have wised up. They're not rioting like last year, but there's thousands of people out, if not every day, every other day. And the weekends at the moment, they're up and down the country. There must be a few 100,000 people out, up and down the country in different locations. And the left-wing mobs that turn up, the organised paid activists with the stupid no to racism signs and all that, they're trying to antagonise these people and make them attack them. But fortunately, there's cooler heads there, and they're telling people, don't rise to it. And all they're doing is singing songs back at them like Rule Britannia and stuff, just to annoy them. Epping, I think it was on Sunday, was it? The usual mob turned up, tried to provoke them. They ended up leaving after 45 minutes because it wasn't working. So these protests are working as long as they stay peaceful. The government, by the way, can ignore them all they want. They can pretend it's not happening all they want, but it is happening. And one of those mothers outside that Epping, was it the Bell Hotel in Epping, turned round and said, all we want is for some politicians to come down here and actually talk to us and acknowledge our concerns. It's not the fact that these people are right-wing or far-right bigots or anything like that. If they're concerned about their children and alleged sexual assaults taking place towards minors in different areas. But of course, they just don't care. And don't forget, the police have turned around and said, if this spreads more than it is now, don't expect us to hold the line because we haven't got the numbers to do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what people need to understand, because people say to me, these demonstrations will lead to nothing. There's only a few thousand outside each hotel or 10,000. But the answer is, how many MPs across the country only need a few hundred votes to win their seat or to retain their seat, or 1,000 or 2,000 extra votes to win the seat to begin with? And there's thousands of people outside these hotels. These are voters. And because our political landscape at the moment is so balkanized and so split up, and we talked before about Jeremy Corbyn's party Reform, almost every vote now matters. Reform won the Runcorn seat with 6 votes. Every vote now really matters in lots of these seats. So politicians will be looking outside these migrant hotels going, maybe if I change my opinion on mass migration, maybe I keep my seat. Maybe I'll win a seat. So they need to keep going because we are changing the political narrative now of many politicians. They're beginning to understand the feelings of the people. And if they change the way they perceive the people and the way they want to take the country, they can keep their seat or win their seat.
I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. They're trying to decide what side of the fence they should be on to try and keep their seats. There's no doubt about that. I mean, look at Labour, for example. I think it's best part of 200 MPs have got majorities less than 1,000, and they're going to be in serious trouble, either because you've got the Islamist candidates that are going to stand against them, like for example Wes Streeting. He's very nearly lost his seat last time, and I would lay thousands of pounds on the fact that he's going to lose his seat next time, regardless. So forget about him. He's done. Then you've got the people who they're deciding: do I go with the traditional Muslim vote, if you will, the Labour vote, or do I go with the white working class vote? What's the bigger one in my constituency? That's what they're trying to think about now, isn't it? But they don't want to break ranks. You can't really be seen to be a Labour MP saying deport them all. If one of them breaks ranks, then you may get others that will do the same. But I'm not sure they'd believe it. I think it would be a desperate move to try and keep their snouts in the trough and try and stay on the gravy train for another term. But as it stands, surely these people can see now that they haven't got a prayer, the majority, of getting re-elected. There's absolutely no chance. That Labour have lost that the most important voting bloc that nobody ever talks about, the white working class vote, has gone, and they're never ever getting that back. That happened after Southport when Starmer proved that he basically couldn't give a shite. 19 seconds was it in Southport? Laid a reef, ignored everybody, then went to a drinks reception at Downing Street. That's how much he really cares. So that moment there they will never ever live that down, and it will be on every single election leaflet Reform UK can put together. That's what these people think about you. Is it any wonder that Reform are about 20 points ahead in Southport?
Doesn't surprise me at all. Let's end on another new kid on the block, which we've never talked about, which is Advance UK. What do you think of them? Do they stand a chance? They're brand new. It's taken Reform 4 or 5 years to get where they are now. But, Advance UK are brand new. What's your take on that?
You could say it's taken Reform longer than that if you go back to Brexit Party.
Yeah, continuation, really, I suppose. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, to be fair to Ben Habib, I like the guy. He speaks a lot of common sense. He's eloquent. He's a good speaker. He knows his brief. He knows his subject, and he's very, very passionate about the UK as well. By the way, so I do like Ben Habib. Do I think Advance UK has a chance? Not really. I think they've missed the boat. Reform UK are now the right-wing party of this country. You can say what you like about them. Are they trying to be establishment? Are they controlled opposition? I don't know. Time will tell. But I think Ben Habib has missed the boat for now, at least. I think Rupert Lowe has taken the best approach, and I've actually joined Restore Britain. It's only 20 quid a year, so I thought it's a good way to maybe voice your opinion. They're going to do a lot of polling, which means you can actually get petitions raised and get things raised in Parliament. So I've joined that because I think rather than raising another party, a pressure group like Restore Britain is a better way to approach things. And I think Ben Habib hasn't done himself any favours since he left Reform. He's obviously very bitter about it. And I think it's more of a personal vendetta for me against the likes of Nigel Farage. They clearly don't get on very well. And I think Ben Habib, although he'd never ever said this publicly, I think he'd be quite happy to see Reform lose an election and Farage step down rather than seeing any immediate change in the UK. And maybe I'm doing him a disservice there, by the way, but I think it's very personal for him to get rid of Farage.
I've spoken to so many people who know Farage and hate him, which is quite surprising. I think I've not spoken to Ben Habib. I've never invited him on my channel. I must do it over the next couple of weeks. I've got his email, so I should invite him on. I think Advance, my understanding is this, Advance UK, no, they're not going to win the next election. They're too new. They're going to need a lot of investment, a lot of time doing groundwork and stuff like that. I don't think they're looking at a 2019 general election. I think they're doing what you said. I think they're planting the seed now to be the people ready to replace Reform UK if Reform turn out to be a fraud. If Reform get into power and suddenly we're all going, you're just slightly better than the Uni Party. You're still giving out 750,000 visas a year. You've only deported 72 illegal immigrants. You're spending billions on the state. If they turn out to be that party, then I think Advance UK will be ready to be the new Reform. If Reform fail, will Reform fail? We don't know. I hope they don't fail. Only a fool wants the country to fail to prove a point. I think that's their game. I think he's convinced Reform will fail because of the inside information he's got and his knowledge of it. And I think he's staging ready to be the new insurgency party if Reform fail.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. There's definitely some truth to that. I just think it's going to be okay. Yeah, it's better to start now and have a few years, I suppose, to build up a bit of a membership and get some policies together and all that. And from what he said about it, and I've watched him talking about it, it's going to be quite a democratic organisation. It's going to have a board where elected members can actually discuss policies and what the policy should be, etc. So it does sound like a very democratic organisation. It's just going to be, in my opinion, a bit of an irrelevance now for the next few years. In my opinion, not just my opinion, in many people's opinion, 2029 is possibly our last and only chance to smash this uni party and get rid of it for good. Reduce the Tory party. Well, they're already reduced to a rump anyway. Get rid of them or reduce them to a next to nothing. Reduce Labour to next to nothing. Get somebody else in. And I just hope that Reform don't fail. Maybe you're right. Maybe they will. We simply don't know, do we? I suppose time will tell on that. And Ben Habib is banking on them failing. You're quite right. But I can't get away from the fact that Ben Habib was friends with a lot of these people. He was an MEP with a lot of these people, and because he lost his position, and in my opinion, although as I said, he's a good guy, it was right that he lost his deputy leader position. Although he resented it hugely, clearly, he wasn't an MP. So I'm afraid how can you stay as deputy leader if you're not an MP? If you're not in the House of Commons, you can't. So I think, given time, he could damage quite a few parties. It just depends who else he gets in there as well. If he gets good people, like, he might even approach yourself. Who knows? If he gets good people in there, then he's got a chance. We've talked about this before, putting people in the right roles, like Reform have just put that Colin Sutton in, that detective. Great idea. That looks good. I like that. It's a good thing. But Ben, if he's talking about getting people like Tommy Robinson in and that as well, is he going to getting people like that in, although they've been proven right and I've got a lot of respect for them, is it going to help you electorally? I'm not sure. But again, time will tell, won't it? We just don't know where they're going to go.
Let's talk about the dark horse. Let's talk about the horse now that can kill Reform, kill the Labour Party, kill Advance UK before they even start. There's only one party that can do all that if they got their act together, and that's the Tory party. Is there any sign they're going to get that act together? Kemi is gone. She doesn't know she's gone, but she's gone. Who replaces her? Another wet, or is it generic? I'm at 3% now. This time last year I was at 0% that generic was any good or believed anything he says. I'm at 3.5% now. He's slowly winning me over. He's saying all the right things. Is there any chance of the Tories blooming from the ashes?
I mean, Kemi admitted this week, although it was secretly recorded. Kemi saying that the Tories have hit rock bottom. Now, that could be a good thing to say, admitting, right, we're at the bottom now. The only way is up from here. Let's rebuild. The problem is they still, as a former Tory member, I follow the party closely, and I still don't know what they really stand for. I still don't know really any policies. She came out this week and called Starmer a liar. Fine, not breaking news. We all know he is. But then she came out and said, I don't like this Online Safety Act. We must scrap it. I'm like, okay, you brought it in. You were in government. How can these people continue to slag off the last government when she was a minister in that government? Jenrick, all right, fair enough, Jenrick resigned, but he was a minister in that government. And I think there's that many wets in there now. You sound conservatives. You Bill Cashes and who else? John Redwoods, Rees Moggs. They've all gone. All you've got left is a load of wets, to be honest with you. There aren't many in there that are actually proper conservatives. So I can't see Jenrick winning the leadership contest. Should he? Definitely. But is he going to win a leadership contest? I don't think so. I think he's too right-wing for the Lib Dems now. There was even a story that numerous Tories were considering quitting and going to the Lib Dems. Now, if I was Kemi, I'd open the door for them. I'd say, good, go. Leave. Just go. I've got nothing to lose now. I'm going to keep... Even if she goes down to 80 MPs, I know it's a bit extreme that, but if she went down to 80 MPs, but they were 80 Conservatives, I'm not sure there are 80 Conservatives there, but if there were 80 Conservatives that could all get behind a right-wing manifesto, then yes, I would say they've probably got a prayer. And the Tory party is fantastic at adapting. That's how it's survived for so long. That's why it's been so successful over
centuries,
80 years. Yeah, exactly. So it definitely, it definitely has a chance of doing that. But I'm afraid with the fact that Kemi's afraid to announce anything serious on the right of politics because she knows that all of her party pretty much is on the left of politics, and she's going to get ousted. You're probably right. She's probably already finished. But I'm afraid we could end up with another Remainer, another wet, who is simply going to damage the Tories even further, and that's not going to get any Tory members back on side.
Yeah. To win me over, I voted Tory in the past. I've not voted for like a decade for the Tories or whatever. But for me to vote Tory, I need two things off him. I need a right-wing leader, someone I'd even accept Generic now, because there's no one else like that. So I'd accept Generic. But what I want first of all is a heartfelt apology. I want a heartfelt looking into the camera and talking about all the mistakes they made and that they're sorry and they've learned those lessons and they know they've met. If I don't get that, I'll never trust them. I want a heartfelt apology going into detail. I want some self-flagellation of we really messed up those 14 years and Jesus, look what we did and we're so sorry. But this is our plan for the future. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. Without those two things, I think they're dead in the water. Because every time they release a policy now or make a statement, the first thing I say is, you was in power 12 months ago when you did nothing. So they need to stop people like me shouting at the phone every time they release something I agree with, but I still shout at the phone, you were in power 12 months ago. What are you talking about?
And this is their problem in it. Like you said, the lack of it comes down to a lack of credibility, and that's what's after being in power for 14 years, you can't have any credibility. I'm afraid a heartfelt apology could actually work, but politicians very rarely apologize, as we know. They just like to say, "Oh well, we got that wrong. We just couldn't quite do that in time," and all this stuff. But so we'll probably never get a proper apology from the Tory party for the mess they made of 14 years. But even if you got that heartfelt apology and it was right, yeah, like you just said, here's our plan for the future. We are going back to our right-wing political roots. This is it. Follow us. And they could win people back doing that. But for anybody that actually knows about politics, for anybody who looks at that party, looks at the people sat on those benches, you're going to find out that the majority of them are still Lib Dems. And Kemi could come out with a really good right-wing manifesto, mass deportations, lower taxes, no more net zero, proper stuff. And most of her party would rebel against her and get her out in a heartbeat. So how do you recover from that?
Yeah. No, very good point. Very good point. It's a Tory party dilemma. I think the Tory party, she said they reached rock bottom. I don't think they have reached rock bottom. They hit rock bottom when the day after they've had the civil war, because they need a civil war within a Tory party involving the members, the organisers, the MPs, GCHQ. They need a civil war. They've still not had that fight about who they are and what they're for. It needs to get a lot worse for the Tories.
Well, CCHQ is full of wets. The Tory backbenches are full of wets. I find it stupid that you've got a party that's supposed to be on the right of politics, but it's constantly being dragged to the left. It's very old and stale, especially CCHQ. People that are completely out of touch. And it's just ridiculous. Even if you get somebody with a ton of charisma, like Boris Johnson, there's still talk of trying to get him back into Parliament to lead them into the next election because they think he'll save them. Even Boris, and I've got no time for Boris anymore because of the mess he made of being Prime Minister.
I despise Boris.
I know you do, yeah. But not even him, with his, whatever you think of him, his fantastic campaigning ability, his ability to talk across, wealthy people and poor people. He's probably the second best campaigner in the country behind Farage. Not even he could turn this mess around. He'd be mad to go back into Parliament now and try and turn this around because he couldn't do it. You're right, it needs to be a big civil war, but the civil war comes and the wets win because there's too many of them. CCHQ is stuffed to the gills with it. The advisors to the party are all wets. These are people, like the Jake Berries of this world. It amazes me that Reform UK have taken that guy on. It's unbelievable, and he epitomises the current Tory party, and that's the problem. And I'm afraid I don't see any way back. Maybe it's going to take them. Rock bottom could actually be after the next general election, whenever it comes, sooner or later. That could be rock bottom because they could end up with 20 or 30 MPs. Forget about 120.
No, absolutely. Let's end this podcast with a question that I asked you and in the last podcast. The last podcast I asked about how long has Starmer got left, when's he going? So let's do this question here with Kemi. When does she go? Is it the conference season? Does she hand over there? Because she has to go.
She does have to go. She's been a huge disappointment to me. I was always quite a big Kemi Bednott fan, but she's proved that she's not very good. So, yes, she has to go. Will it be conference? Depends how bad the polling gets before conference season. If we're talking fourth, fifth place in the polls, you're entering Lib Dem Green territory, then possibly conference. Somebody might make a move against her. However, if someone's more politically astute, they might leave her in place to go into the May elections, get walloped, and then try and rebuild the party after that. But I think it's more likely May that if they get slaughtered. In fact, if they get slaughtered even more in places like Essex and that, where big Tory country, then I think she'll have to resign. Forget no confidence vote. She'll have to go.
Yeah, and we also need to understand who wants to take over a poison chalice as shadow leader. You've got no power. You've got very limited whatever you can do. You're limited, and you're at rock bottom. Does it take someone special to want to take over at rock bottom?
Kemi did.
Yep, she did. She did actually, did she?
Maybe that wasn't quite rock bottom. Maybe there's another floor to fall through.
Yeah, but I actually said it takes someone very special to want to take over. So she's proved she's not very special, and she took over. Ash, thank you so much for coming along today, and let's do this again soon.
Yeah, cheers, Nick. Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.